You are 3 days old. You cannot see clearly yet. You cannot hold up your own head. And someone who loves you very much is gently pressing two flat boards against your skull and binding them tight with cloth. They are not hurting you. They are not punishing you. They are reshaping your head, deliberately, permanently, into a long, elegant point. And when they are done, months from now, your skull will be a completely different shape than the one you were born with. For the rest of your life. This sounds insane. It sounds like something that would kill a baby, or leave it brain damaged, or count as the darkest kind of abuse. But it was none of those things. It was normal. It was loving. It was, in many ancient cultures, the single most desirable thing a parent could do for their child. This is artificial cranial deformation, the intentional reshaping of the human skull. And it wasn't done by one weird tribe in one strange place. It was done all over the world, independently, for at least 9,000 years. So the real question isn't just how, it's why so many separate human cultures looked at a newborn's head and thought, that could look better. Let's start with how it's even possible. Because your instinct is right that you can't reshape an adult skull. But a baby's skull is a completely different object. A newborn's head isn't a single solid dome of bone. It's several separate plates, still soft, still growing, connected by flexible seams and gaps, the soft spots you're told never to press. This is by design. Human babies have to squeeze through the birth canal, so the skull is built to flex and even overlap on the way out, then expand fast as the brain doubles in size over the first year. And that means, for a short window in infancy, the skull is soft enough to guide. Apply gentle, constant, even pressure over months, and the growing bone simply fills into the shape you give it. Remove the binding, and it stays that way forever. No cutting, no pain, as far as we can tell. Just patience, and a shape decided before the child could ever object. Now here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Ancient humans figured out two main ways to do it, and they map almost perfectly onto two different beautiful shapes. If you bound the head between two flat boards, one at the forehead, one at the back, you got a flattened, elongated skull that sloped dramatically backward. If you wrap the head in tight circular bandages instead, you got a long, rounded, cone-like skull that rose up into a point. Different tools, different aesthetics, same underlying trick. These weren't accidents or mistakes. They were techniques, refined and passed down, each culture with its own preferred silhouette, as deliberate as a hairstyle and far more permanent. And the spread of this is staggering. We find reshaped skulls among the Maya of Central America, who prized a long, sloping forehead. We find them across the Andes, especially in ancient Peru, where different communities used head shape to mark which group you belong to. We find them among the Huns who swept across Europe, among peoples in Africa like the Hmong BH2 in ancient Egypt, and in early Neolithic sites in the Near East going back around 9,000 years. Separate continents, separate eras. People who never met, never traded, never shared a language, all independently deciding that a reshaped skull was better than the one nature handed out. When a behavior shows up that many times, that far apart, you're not looking at a fluke. So now the biggest question, why? Why would loving parents do this to their own children? And the answers are more human than you'd expect. The most common reason was simply beauty. In these cultures, a long or elongated skull wasn't strange. It was gorgeous. It was the ideal. Parents shaped their children's heads for the exact same reason parents in other times pierced ears, bound feet, or filed teeth into points, to give their child the body the culture considered beautiful. The second big reason was status and identity. A particular head shape marked you as noble, as elite, as belonging to a specific tribe or class. Your skull announced who you were before you said a single word. And in some cultures, there was a spiritual dimension too, a belief that the shape of the head shaped the person. Now let me throw the wildest part at you, and because you may have already heard about these skulls without knowing it. The elongated skulls of the Pah culture in Peru are so dramatic, so alien-looking, that for years people have claimed they must be evidence of actual extraterrestrials, that no human head could possibly be that shape. And I understand the instinct. When you see one of these long, sweeping skulls in a photograph, it genuinely does not look human. But here's the truth, and it's more impressive than aliens. These skulls are human, every single one. We know exactly how they were made, by binding in infancy, using techniques we have documented and can literally reproduce. The elongation is real, but it's not from another planet. It's from a mother, and a strip of cloth, and months of patience. Turning it into a UFO story erases the actual people who made it, which is its own quiet tragedy. Because here's the fact that ties this whole thing together. Reshaping the skull like this does not appear to damage the brain. You'd assume squeezing a growing head into a point would cause harm, cognitive problems, something. But study after study of these remains finds that the total volume inside the skull is preserved. The brain isn't crushed or shrunk, it simply grows into the available space, redistributing into the new shape. The person underneath grew up, thought, loved, ruled, and lived a completely normal life, just with a differently shaped head. The human skull is far more forgiving than you'd ever guess. But now the uncomfortable part, because there's always one. It's easy to look at this as a beautiful, harmless quirk of the past. Mostly it was. But it was also permanent body modification performed on infants who could never consent, a decision made about someone's face and identity before they could form a single opinion about it. And when head shape marked class or nobility, it could lock a child into a social role for life, impossible to remove. And before you feel too distant from all this, we still shape babies' heads today. We just don't admit it. In France, a practice called the Toulouse deformation survived into the late 19th and even early 20th century. And right now, when we lay babies on their backs to sleep to prevent sudden infant death, which we absolutely should, many develop a real flattening of the back of the skull. It's common enough that we hand out corrective helmets to gently round the head back out. We are, at this very moment, using constant gentle pressure to reshape our infants' soft skulls into the shape our culture prefers. We just call it medicine instead of beauty. So, did ancient humans really reshape their babies' skulls? Yes, deliberately, lovingly, all over the world for 9,000 years. Not out of cruelty, but out of beauty, belonging, and identity. The next time you see one of those long, sweeping alien skulls in a museum, look closer. That isn't a visitor from another world. That's a baby who was loved, in a language of beauty you just don't speak. And somewhere, right now, a parent is pressing a soft helmet onto a flat little head, doing the exact same ancient thing and calling it something new.